I'm not exactly sure how we've got into a place in time in the Formula 1 realm history that in this dimension, the Sergio Perez is going to be in the Red Bull family for 6 years. And potentially even longer.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Yes, the Sergio Perez that we all know. The Sergio Perez that some people actually support. Some people actually, like, die-hard support him. Now, I guess if you're Mexican, fair enough, that's your homeboy, support him. But if you have no ties to any, I'm not quite sure why you would support him. Nah, all jokes aside. 2024 has been a chaotic season as it is, and now Sergio Perez re-signing another 2-year contract, just a little dabble more of controversy, more entertainment, more interestingness.
Seems like a championship is brewing up, and if Sergio Perez isn't up to performance, then who knows, Red Bull might lose the constructors, Red Bull might lose the drivers, because Lando and Leclerc are cooking. If you want to see an actual championship fight, you should subscribe and like, otherwise it will not happen.
Now, first of all, top teams, they should have good drivers. Therefore, good drivers will be able to battle for the championship, make exciting seasons. One, they'd have more of a chance to win the championship. They would have more of a chance to win the constructors if they have 2 good drivers who are both battling for good points every single weekend. And if there's multiple good teams with multiple good drivers fighting for the championship, wouldn't that be an entertaining season, wouldn't it? By that logic, you wouldn't stick Logan Sargent into the Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen, because yes, it would be entertaining by how absolutely awful Logan Sargent would be to the prestigious Max Verstappen, who every single race wins the race. And whilst Logan Sargent every single race would be crashing out of the race. So by that logic, good drivers would stick to good teams and bad teams would stick to bad drivers, because that's just how it's meant to be. It's like Lewis Hamilton wouldn't sell his soul and somehow dip over to Haas. It's like he doesn't want to be in a midfield Mercedes, you know? Now yes, I did just say 2 drivers would make it easier to win the constructor, or 2 good drivers would make it much, much easier to win the Constructors' Championship. But, you know, last year Verstappen and Red Bull, they didn't really need that because Max Verstappen, he would have won the championship, the constructors and drivers on his own. Sergio Perez last year was literally irrelevant. The only thing that he brought to the team last year was, wow, you got your first 1-2 finish in the drivers. So cool, that's all he did. He lost them a boat ton of money through multiple incidents. But that was last year. This year is a whole different novel, different author, different everything. This year, they aren't as dominant. Now, yes, Max Verstappen still has pretty much most of the wins that have happened this year. But their car isn't the RB19. The car isn't really a NASA rocket ship. This year, it's more of a slightly nerfed NASA rocket ship with one less booster pack thing. Instead of leading the championship comfortably like they did last year, this year, it isn't as easy. They've already not won 3 races of the season, and Ferrari, they're only 24 points behind in the constructors. Now, would the difference between Red Bull and Ferrari be much, much bigger if Sergio Perez did a better job in, say, Australia, Imola, Monaco? Oh, yes, it goddamn would be. And now, are Red Bull under a slight bit more pressure because of Sergio Perez? Yes, potentially. Will they admit it? No, because Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Christian Horner, and all of them, they're all real men. They know that they don't really want to show weakness. They will be cold-blooded till the end. And that's what they will be until the end of the season, where they potentially might lose the championship. And that's when all the comes out. Oh, no, but this, but... After that small ramble, back to positivity. Now, I could stand here and continue to theorize of, oh my god, if Perez did this, if Perez did that, would it made their life slightly easier? Would there be more points in the team? Would there be less stress? But no, I think, you know, sometimes we gotta look at the facts. And the facts in Sergio Perez's case, they aren't on his side. If we look back to 2023, literally last year, one of the biggest talking points was, Logan Sargent, are you up for Formula 1? The gap to Alex Albon seems to be a country mile, and it doesn't seem like that's closing anytime soon. And therefore, the question was, when will he be dropped? When will he be replaced? Is he that bad? Yes, he is.
Just another day at the office.
The average qualifying gap between those two was around 9/10. That was the biggest gap on the field. And guess what? Who comes in 9th? Let me have a little ponder and think. Oh, No, you're probably right. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Now, the gap wasn't as big as 9/10, but it was pretty hefty at 6.5. And for the fact that Logan Sargent is a rookie, his first year in the sport, okay, and what? He's struggling. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. First year in the sport, of course you're not going to be as good as, say, a more experienced teammate. But the fact that Sergio Perez has, 1, been in the sport longer than Max Verstappen, 2, had the amount of experience that Brody has, and he's 6.5 tenths off of Max Verstappen. Now, it's easy to say, oh, Max Verstappen, he is a pretty difficult competitor, a pretty difficult opponent in any realm.
Max Verstappen wins for Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen.
After all, he is a 3-time world champion and soon to be a 10-time world champion, like a 150-time race winner, you know, probably the GOAT of the sport in a couple years. But there's no doubt about it, if the top teams have pretty equal machinery, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, they Seems like the yapper is unable to speak. Anyways, moving swiftly on from whatever that was. Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc, they're all on the similar skill level of Max Verstappen. Let's be real, there's not much in it. Max Verstappen might be a slightly bit luckier with having a faster car and a more competitive car most of the time, but hey, they're all pretty much the same. And each one of their teammates, whether it be a rookie, whether it be someone who has slight experience, they're all doing pretty much similar to their counterpart of, let's say, the greatest in Formula 1 at the moment. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, and George Russell, he is doing just fine. He is, well, pretty much equaling Lewis Hamilton, occasionally being better. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, basically the same. And Carlos Sainz and Leclerc, okay, Leclerc's like a tenth or two faster, boo-hoo-hoo, no big deal. But then you look at Red Bull and you see the 6.5 tenth gap. Oh my god, Sergio Perez is only getting 50% of the entire points that Max Verstappen is getting. You see the numbers and then you start to question, is he right for the team? At the same time, it's not just a couple milliseconds or seconds that someone is slower per race weekend. It's also the numbers that they're costing the team. Sergio Perez this year, he's not leading the championship, but he is leading the Destructors Championship, which I guess that is an accolade that he can be proud of, that he's beating Logan Sargent in. Yay! You see, Sergio Perez is pretty consistent at being 5 to say 7 tenths slower than Max Verstappen. Keep in mind that Valtteri Bottas was around a 10.5 slower than Lewis Hamilton in the 5 years they spent together. Daniel Ricciardo, around the same. And a much less experienced teammate than Alex Albon, literally his first and second years in Formula 1 ever, paired against Max Verstappen, he was an odd 7 tenths behind, you know, the GOAT himself, the Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman. And after those performances, he was expelled from the team. Sergio Perez, being much more experienced and pretty much being on the same wavelength as Alex Albon, should he be out of the team by now? Now, the only difference is between Sergio Perez and Alex Albon is that, well, right now they have a faster car, and Sergio Perez actually managed to bag a couple wins under his name. Whereas Alex Albon complained on Lewis Hamilton every single time.
This guy is such a fun.
Now, you could say that qualifying isn't Sergio Perez's biggest strength, but then you look at the races, and then you see all of the crashes, all of the, 30-second gaps from Max Verstappen to Sergio Perez, all of the times where he's goofed up, and goofed up he has on multiple occasions, and the times where Max Verstappen hasn't actually crashed the car in absolutely forever, and the only thing he has done is did a little pirouette around Hungary and still managed to win the race, because he was quote-unquote warming his tyres up. And Sergio Perez, now his races look very much different to the ones of Verstappen. Now at the moment, Max Verstappen seems somewhat unbeatable. Now that might be because Max Verstappen is actually a Greek god sculpted out of marble by hand, by a chisel, by a fine chisel, by a lovely craftsman. And he's actually that good, and is able to win every single race in any car that he has, with any... Or Sergio Perez is actually bad. Because in the time where Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel were teammates, it seemed like Sebastian Vettel was the GOAT of the team. Kimi Raikkonen, you couldn't really beat him that often. And it seemed like Sebastian Vettel was unbeatable. Now that all stopped when Kimi Raikkonen, a literal winner of the Drivers' Championship, departed from the team in favour of Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc actually showed the world that it was possible.
And for the first
first time ever, Charles Leclerc wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc has coped brilliantly. He won in Spa. He wins in Monza.
And probably would have won in Singapore if it was fair. But that showed that the force of the German was, wasn't that strong. It was just Kimi Räikkönen. Now, the Red Bull domination at the moment seems very, very boring, and that is because every single race is just a write-off. Max Verstappen will win unless something happens. Say his car blows up. Say Logan Sargent and Kevin Magnussen decide to grief a whole race. Or say it's Monaco and you can't overtake anyone. Otherwise, it's just a free race win. But say in the times when Mercedes dominated, where Rosberg was Lewis Hamilton's teammate, it wasn't a complete write-off. It was definite that a Mercedes would win. But which Mercedes? It was unknown. It was somewhat entertaining, and it was entertaining in that Spain race. And still Max Verstappen managed to win that one. But none of that is really their problem, let's be real. In their mind, their only problem in the team is the car. It's not the fact that Christian Horner potentially might be sent to jail. It's not the fact that Max Verstappen potentially might want to leave. It's not the fact that Adrian Newey is leaving. It's not the fact that Sergio Perez crashes out and isn't as good of a driver as Max Verstappen or a good driver for that team. They are not concerned about that one bit. Of course, this then sparks the question, who would be an adequate replacement for Sergio Perez? Would it be a driver that is currently on the field? Would it be a junior driver? Or would it be an alien? Of course, at the moment, there are probably the obvious answers of Lando Norris or Carlos Sainz. And I think, there's no way Lando Norris is going to leave McLaren. He wants to win with that team. He wants to, do everything with that team. And in their current place, potentially be being better than Red Bull, I don't think that he'd want to leave. Plus, I'm not sure whether him and Max Verstappen would get along for much longer. But Carlos Sainz was truly a good shout. He is a race winner this season, race winner last season, race winner the season before, and he's been pretty consistent in that Ferrari. In the times where Charles Leclerc is sometimes in the wall, sometimes making a mistake, Carlos Sainz is always there. And that is somebody that Red Bull needs, a consistent driver who can score points, who is fast, but isn't fast enough to catch Max Verstappen. And that is literally the definition of Carlos Sainz. He is currently the best unemployed driver in the world, so why not give it a chance? Now, this might be to keep Max Verstappen quiet, to keep him satisfied in the team, to keep him hushed down, because he knows that Sergio Perez is literally zero threats in any type of anything, and Carlos Sainz might be a slight threat when a championship does, keep brewing up. But would you rather a slight championship threat or not winning the Constructors' Championship at all if Sergio Perez's run of form of the last 3 races continues? There was obviously also Daniel Ricciardo, who was an option for a while, but that ship has definitely sailed and currently definitely sunk. I mean, what is he actually doing with his life? Now, you could say driving a Formula 1 car, but not at any good skill or good pace at all, compared to Yuki Tsunoda, who is currently pummeling him into the ground. Doesn't have time to dig a 6 feet deep grave, 2 feet, that's all that Daniel Ricciardo gets. That sparks another question. What if Yuki Tsunoda joined the team? Could he be any good? Could he be nearer Verstappen? I don't know, but he was also a quite good option. But now you gotta hold your horses right there before you go into the comments and actually be the biggest keyboard warrior there is. And I'm not saying that Sergio Perez is an awful driver. A 6-time race winner, that isn't bad at all. It's actually quite good. Nearly 250 race starts, that's also quite good. But at the moment, I don't think he suits the Red Bullness. I don't think he suits the topper echelons of teams. The same way that Daniel Ricciardo is like an 8-time race winner, he doesn't suit a topper echelons team. If I saw Daniel Ricciardo win a Red Bull, I think I might consider the whole legitness of Formula 1, because that is rigged. And I'm not saying that he deserves, say, a Haas seat. I think he's a very, very good mid-topper midfield driver, like the Alpine 23, 22 car, something along those lines. But I don't think he much, I think there are better drivers for that Red Bull seat, and he is way, way too good to be in a dingy little Haas, or to heck, not even be in Formula 1. That was the most level-headed thing I have ever done in my life, and I hope you can appreciate it, because I could have gone on a whole rampage how absolutely Sergio Perez is, how he's absolutely over Red Bull and the entire team. Could have done that, but I've stopped myself. And with that slight little conclusion, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a safe and fantastic rest of your day, and put your thoughts down in the comments of the whole Sergio Perez's-ness in the Red Bull. Watch today, you might as well subscribe, like, don't know why you wouldn't, and with that said, don't die because you can't watch the videos. Anyway, peace!
That's all, folks.